Hey fellas, well, another week has gone by. Hi, and as promised, it's time for another reaction and thoughts video on the latest episode of monJourneys. This time on episode 30, Exasperated Pikachu and Reluctant Mr. Mime. Hence why I'm wearing this shirt here, with my angry Japanese Pikachu. So bear in mind, I'm going to be focusing on English names because that's what I'm familiar with. So let's get this started. So, the episode opens on Ash training for the Great League, having won another battle with Riolu's help against Electabuzz, bringing his rank ever up further up the 900s. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens once he reaches the Ultra League, since, as established, only the top 8, not just in Galar, but the entire Pokemon world to date, are in the Master League, which would include the champion and Leon, or Supreme Monarch, as the anime is referring to him as for some reason, and the Dragon type team, the Raihan, and Elite Four member Lance. So that's still, and it's definitely straining. However, the focus on Riolu is definitely straining. They're painting his friendship with Pikachu in this one, and I definitely suggest there be a lot of parallels with Pikachu's Goodbye and some extended triggers, but upset, like the one I covered a little bit ago with Go and his Raboot. So, and this is definitely another example of that. I will get this out of the way, as I'm just taking my time with this volume with the dub while I wait for the second one to come on. But I will get this one. Coronation Netflix. This is bad comedy. Just then, Ash's mother Dia comes to visit the lab, much to the delight of Mime, and also they decide to stay the night, after dinner, given how it seems that Professor's wife had something going on, and Chloe's brother Parker is at a friend's house. This also shows how she's caring for a child of more than one. Not just ever since Ash set out, but also seeing Go, not just a friend with her brother, but also Pikachu as a sort of another one. And I like the idea in this story, given how not just at this point in the story and this particular part of the franchise, he isn't just a pet or a friend, but in a way, family. Yes. The next day, Dia goes back home to Pallet Town, but despite Mr. Mime's protests, as Pikachu decides to follow her home. So, Mr. Mime decides to follow him in that same vein, and this enters the second half of the episode, and definitely what's the biggest part of it, which is a unique way of showing their bond and how the connections have been felt and made more than one. And since this one really has a lot going for it, and I definitely think glad that's not only building on what the previous anime did with Sun and Moon series, and we'll get my next vlogs of that, but also definitely showing how it's a bit short-sighted to just simply say no conventional story structure, direct adaptation, and of the games. Then why bother watching? Am I right? And if I'm being honest, that is still a counterproductive mindset to hold, especially given what's going on here. Yeah. So, Pikachu, who in Mime's journey takes them over a river, across a field, to dealer's house they go, even hitching a ride on the back like a flatbed truck, and a driver who's definitely is kind of comes way deep in the woods. So it's definitely a like how they allude to even back the very first episode of the entire series. I mean, and also expands upon it further. I mean, so it really gets to the core of what makes the series work, especially given how all things considered, I really think this is the take we all needed right now. I mean, this is also what inspired me, among other things, to rewrite my own EX story in my head to being less cynical and dark and more optimistic and hopeful. I mean, especially in this time and age. Yeah. And this is definitely compounded when Pikachu saves Mime from Zamfiro and Spiro the same way he saved Ash back in the day. I mean, wow. Oh, this really knows how to hit you. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, I can't be the only person this way, can I? I certainly hope not. So, Pikachu and Mime find their way back home, and it turns out that Ash and Ryu are waiting for him, as are Go and all the others. I mean, as it turns out, Ash knew he would do this and managed to get there first. I mean, that is definitely a detail I really love in this episode. I mean, that he knew that this is where he'd be, and this would be the way, for him to make amends over dinner. I mean, so it's the little details like that that help make this really work. I mean, again, definitely why I've often argued against jettisoning his character in favor of making something like Chronicles, because if anything, and these two are like a dyad, two sides of the same coin, and that if you need to make a different continuity entirely, otherwise, I still think that Journeys succeeds overall where Chronicles failed. I'll definitely be getting into this in another video I'm planning, but I digress. I mean, so after a brief tiff from Delia and where the meeting says Jesse's take your shoes off, we close on Ash Bruce reconciling over dinner and even singing the same song as they fall asleep that Delia used to sing to him when he was younger. Now, that is just wholesome. Yeah. So, this is definitely now again on the list of my favorite episodes of the series so far. I had a feeling that this trio that came out one after the other would definitely be another way of demonstrating how good the series is, and I appreciate that. I've submitted the solution is not trying to remove characters, but rather to find new uses for them, and how that's, if you want to make focus on different characters, then everything would have to be different, like with Origins, Generations, Twilight Wanes. But if you're gonna, as far as the main series is concerned, I'm definitely of the mind that you should definitely use what you have in a way that's nice and expands upon the world rather than trying to shrink it. That to me, that way it's using all of the regions that Henza and characters have access to, and potentially with more to come. So with this is the last episode they announced before the hiatus they had, which is not as short as the one they had after the Ultra Polygon incident, but this is not the end of the series or the world. Not today, and hopefully not for a while. I'll see you all tomorrow another time after I'm going to go see Last Crusade again. Later.